So, Doug, look, I mean, the election is still 4 months away. We haven't even had the conventions yet. And I guess you could certainly make an argument that every presidential debate is historic. Not all of them are consequential. What do debates past tell us potentially about what this could mean? Could it be a game changer?
It could be a game changer, and it tells us a lot. They matter. I mean, it feels odd to be doing this in June. It goes against every kind of instinct I've had or you've had, Chris, but lo and behold, it's upon us this Thursday. And I think rightfully we should all look at what happened in 2020. It was Biden and it was Trump. There were two debates. Trump had pulled out of one, but as you said, they weren't in the same room. And Trump got advantage when he debated Hillary Clinton, when he kind of roamed behind her back and did body language to intimidate her. That's not going to be possible in Atlanta. They're going to be both seated. But I think when we're looking at how important prep is, it's really important. Barack Obama had told me that, he had been preparing to debate Mitt Romney in Henderson, Nevada, working hard just like Biden is right now, and then flew to Denver and forgot about kind of the altitude and had an altitude sickness for the debate that he performed poorly at, and Romney, most people felt, won. So every little thing you do right now matters. I worry if Biden's over-preparing on the sense of having too much going on in your head, 16 different people telling you what to do. It sounds like Trump's going to go more out of his gut instinct to maybe shock and awe people. And remember that this time around, Trump's going to be also debating Jake Tapper and Dana Bash. He's going to try to take swipes at the press, the fake news, and all of that. So he's actually going to be debating three people there on that table.
Everybody, Charlie, has an opinion about what both of these guys should do. Former Republican Vice President Dan Quayle had some advice for Joe Biden. He told NBC News, if I were advising Biden, I'd try to make fun of Trump, try to ridicule him. That will get him mad. We actually know that Biden has been studying up on things that his team thinks could trigger Trump. But do you think that's a good idea? Are there risks? So what do you make of that advice?
Well, there are risks in any possible strategy. Look, there's nothing normal about this debate. This is not going to be a great moment for democracy. We know that. How do you prepare for debating, a howler monkey who is flinging poop at you? And this is part of the Biden problem. And I agree with Douglas that they may be over-preparing Joe Biden, but what's very clear is that they are not doing any meaningful preparation for Donald Trump at all, which means we're going to get Donald Trump unplugged. We're going to get Donald Trump unhinged. It's going to be a blizzard of BS and insults. And I guess the question is whether or not, first of all, who's going to watch this debate? Are they going to see or hear anything that is new to them? Will they care about it? Does it actually make a difference? And ultimately, are we going to be able to separate the substance, the really stark differences between these two men from the theatrics? And I guess I'm a little bit pessimistic because, it has become the show. It has become the latest reality TV show for Donald Trump. But again, as I've said on this air several times, this debate is unlikely to be either enlightening or ennobling, given what we know Donald Trump's strategy is going to be. And it's going to be very, very difficult to counter that.
Hillary Clinton wrote about that, Doug, in her op-ed today about, the concern about too much theatrics. But there is, and we talked about this actually in our last hour, this feeling that people want to tune in a debate and see a president. I don't know how we define looking and acting and sounding presidential, but it's something people know when they see it, right? And I wonder if you can speak to that and the importance that it has, not even so much what they may say about the issues, but how they say it, how they present themselves.
Well, we should remember that when Biden did debate Trump, he cleaned his clock. And it was really that famous line, when he used the word man, this is so unpresidential what you're doing to Trump. That helped Biden win. And we have to remember that Trump has been losing on a losing streak lately. So his bombastic style, which works like, medicine for his base, does not win over swing voters. So I think it would behoove Trump to modulate somewhat, not to attack Hunter Biden, say, or mock Joe Biden as being feeble. But whether he'll do that or not, I don't know. And if I were Biden, I'd try to trap Trump on saying that Obamacare is no good. He's been wavering on something like that. Obamacare is very popular, but it has the name Obama on it, and it might make Trump say, no, I'll redo it as Trump Care or something. And then you might get a new group of voters for Joe Biden that say, geez, I'm living off of Obamacare. It changed my life, the Affordable Care Act, and now Trump is flirting or stating he's getting away with it. So I think you need to trap. Each of them should try to trap the other in a policy position, an albatross around their neck for the coming months.
There was for months, as you know, Charlie, a lot of Democrats who were concerned that Biden wasn't being tough enough responding to some of the things that Trump was saying most recently, for example, suggesting that he's going to have to take some kind of drugs in order to, be on the debate stage, and even said, oh, I'll do it. You do it. I'll do it. I'll take a drug test. But I wonder, do you think, a danger? There's the tweet from Donald Trump, a danger in even deigning to respond to something that is so egregiously a lie, to some people's mind, getting down in the mud with Donald Trump? Or do you have to respond? The campaign has decided they're not going to say anything about that one thing in particular.
Well, obviously, there are dangers. This is what you get when you get down in the mud. This is part of the insoluble formula of standing on a debate stage with Donald Trump and pretending that it's a normal presidential debate. And you said before that the people tune in because they want to see a president. I hope that's true, but I wonder how many people tune in because they want to see the show. They want to see the car crash. Again, it comes back to what are they going to see, and the contrast between what plays for Donald Trump's base and what plays for the swing voters is going to be interesting, because Donald Trump can go on his incoherent rambles, and the crowd and the MAGA crowd will eat it up. But at some point, Joe Biden could, if he keeps his cool, could say, to my fellow Americans, you just saw who and what Donald Trump is. Do you want to give him control of nuclear weapons again? To make that presidential case. And that's the kind of question, is whether or not people want a president or whether they want more entertainment.
Charlie Sykes, Douglas Brinkley, great pairing. Thank you, guys. Much appreciated.
Hey there, MSNBC fans. I'm Luke Russert, and be sure to join me, Rachel Maddow, Jen Psaki, Lawrence O'Donnell, Steve Kornacki, Joy Reid, and many more September 7th in Brooklyn, MSNBC Live Democracy 2024. Click on the link for ticket information. We will see you there.